think it beats the crap out of Google Chats as long as you know how to use it.
No, this one's so much easier to use than Google Hangouts. Hangouts, there's just so many hiccups with it.
Yeah, I know. Hold on a sec. I'm just going to adjust my. I'm getting too much light from this side. Not that we're going to use the audio, the video for this thing, but
Just in case.
still want to keep. Yeah, you never know. Let's see.
That's a good point. I'm probably going to change it up too.
I think that's a little better.
Desk. Not right now, but I'm actually.
Okay.
Is it coming from this mic? Is it picking up from this mic right here?
Yes.
Is that?
Yep.
Okay.
I can hear you on that one. And the focus. Let's
Quality
see.
is decent. Perfect.
Always try and stay focused. Yeah, that's about as good. This is a cheap ass mic. Not mic. No, the mic is not cheap. The webcam is cheap. I've had this thing for like a decade, and I don't think I spent more than $50 for it. So Microsoft webcam, but it's like Fred Flintstone technology. Okay. Well, let's see. I'm going to get the audio levels. So go ahead and. So what was that chat session you were just in? Talking about Jeremiah Owang.
I had a couple minutes, and I was looking at what the current live sessions were, and I thought I'd jump in and see. It was titled something about hat day on Blab. Basically,
yeah, what's up?
You had to have a hat.
Yeah,
and so I was
up
like,
with?
all right, let me find a hat in the neighborhood. I figured I'd do a cameo, and I did. After finding my hat,
Cameo.
No, so this is a hat. Basically, it's one of the companies I'm investing in. I do a little angel investing here in the DC area. So
Cool.
Angel
Well, that sounds
invest,
good.
Advise.
So you're in the DC area.
Right.
It's funny because yesterday I did an interview with Jason Troy, and my Zoom H2N failed to record anything, which was a good thing that my primary record worked properly, so I got the whole thing. But I always like to do a backup. So I have the Zoom H2N tapping off of the headphones where I can get both channels of audio. And but that's the backup. The primary is going to be their session we're recording. So before this right now, I hopped on Blab to do a little practice, and I was talking with some blind guy of all people.
I saw that actually. I kind of saw I wanted to see if you were on. I saw you were doing that.
Okay, cool.
Blind guy.
Yeah,
which I thought was pretty interesting.
Yeah,
you told him how to position the video so that you could actually see him.
Did you watch the live or recorded?
Recorded.
Oh, okay. So is that available to anybody to watch?
It is. So basically, since I see we're on the record right now for this one, after the completion of the Blab, once you click off the record on your end or go off of recording mode, they will literally, I think within a minute or two, send you an email with a link to the video recording and then a separate link for just the audio.
Cool. So basically what I did was I hit record, and then I waited for I actually had to go back into preferences and record my or enter my email address because I don't think I put it in there. I'm going to close Facebook because people, when they post and IM me, it goes bling, and I don't want that to get recorded in the session.
Go ahead and get this as well. It's a good point.
Yeah, so the more I do the social media with the fellow podcasters, the more of these groups. Now I went up to like 600 friends, and I mean, that's fine. And they're all mainly acquaintances, but it's funny because you have 135 common friends with this person, and Facebook's trying to tell you to friend them. And if you have 135 friends in common, then it's likely that you have a common interest. So I like to use that. So use that as a tool to network with like-minded people. So there's two main groups that I'm in. One is salsa dancing, and the other one is podcasting now. So I'm going to hopefully expand my social stuff even more. I saw a little person open the door behind you. You got a little critter back there?
I did.
That's funny. All right. So let's see. I have just since this is my second interview, I have some very basic notes. I think I IM'd you
You
what
did. I
those,
got those.
cool. All right. Let's see. Interview questions. Here we go. There is one that I've added to the list, which I think is pretty cool. And that is state what you do in 8 words or less. So this is, even though I'm recording this right now, I'm not going to use it for the podcast. This is just prep stuff to warm up, feel comfortable, get like settled in. And then once we're ready, we'll start. You'll know that I'm recording the actual podcast. Plus in post-production, I can edit the crap out of everything. But I'll start off like, welcome to the Super Smart Guy podcast. And then I'll introduce you. And then basically, so I'll ask you as the icebreaker, what do you do in 8 words or less? You want to try and give that a shot right now?
Yeah. So attorney, sharing economy, entrepreneur, angel investor.
So those are definitions, those are labels of who you might be, but what do you do? Like, give me a verb, like a noun verb type of sentence in 8 words or less.
Oh, okay. Well, you're starting to specify a little bit more. Then.
I know. So I'll give you an example.
You want a sentence of basically what
I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example. So this way, for me, what I came up with was, I'm trying to remember it. I help people with knowledge. Let's see, using knowledge to help others. Using knowledge to help others. I got it in 5. That's mine. Using knowledge to help others, because the super smart guy is, I will help optimize your performance with health, wealth, and relationships. Don't just be yourself, be your best self. So, everyone has like the branding. Now, you're going to launch a podcast as well, right?
That's correct.
So what will the name of your podcast be?
Well, the thing is, I was going to launch it, and then until Blab came out, and then now that Blab's out, I'm actually doing I'm blabbing. So the name I'm actually doing several.
Cool.
So the name of the main one that I initially started off was the Sharing Economy podcast.
So what does that mean?
In that space, we talk about how you can monetize and make over $1,000 a month in side income by using the sharing economy, using companies within that space. That's way more than 8 words. But what I do in 8 words is I learn as much as possible and share. Nice.
Learn and share. You can do it in 3. There's a little bit of static. I don't know if it's at your end or mine. Oh, it went away. Oh, no, I heard it again. Hello, test, test, test. Go ahead and say something.
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, there's a little bit of static. I don't know if it's at your end or if it's over the wire. Well, we can just make the best of it. It's just a very subtle static.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll talk through it. It's not too bad. It's kind of low volume. Plus, I'll try and use noise reduction in Audacity to eliminate those sort of components. So let's see what we're gonna do. Oh, by the way, I'll give you a tip. Some of the things now I haven't been in this industry that long yet. I mean, like half a year at the most is the what do you call that? Multimedia, social media. I've been reading and doing the knowledge, acquisition for many years. And then that's my value that I'm trying to bring to other people. But the actual platform, that's all new. So I only have 19 episodes out there, but they're growing fast. And now Jason's interview yesterday, your interview today, and then it's just starting to explode because it seems like it's almost like an exponential growth factor. The more people you meet, the more networking you do, the more guests you have on your show, and the more contacts you make, and they just branch out. They told 2 friends, and they told 2 friends, like the Herbal Essence commercial many years ago. I don't know if you remember that. Cool. So what I'd suggest is a lot of times people will they'll record, like for example, a YouTube video. They'll record a YouTube video and then publish that on YouTube. And YouTube is a huge outlet for, I mean, it's on demand television basically at the grassroots level. And then you can take that video and you can rip the audio track from the video and just do very minimal post-production, throw an intro, an outro, what I call a mantra right after the intro. So what I'll do for my podcast is I'll do I'll talk a little bit, I'll throw in a little sound bite, and then I'll do my intro. And then after the intro, I do my main podcast segment. And then after that, at the very end, I got the outro. Now, part of my intro is I talk about my mantra. The mantra is basically like the 8 words or less, but you have 20 seconds. So you have to use a lot more than 8 words. And you just basically brand your product in that mantra inside. And I put it in the intro. People do it differently. If you listen to several different podcasts, you'll get a flavor for it. Just like I've been watching several different YouTube channels now to try and get ideas for backdrops, because this backdrop sucks. I mean, these walls are a horrible color. I just moved into this house 2 years ago. Haven't even had a chance to paint it yet. So, but
I mean, all these do that because I'm playing around with a couple of tools that are able to digitally be able to set your background.
Oh, cool. All right. Yeah. Right now, I'm getting a tremendous amount of static at your end. When you talk into the microphone, it's got a lot of digital problems. Is that a USB mic?
It is a USB mic.
Oh, that sounds better.
I just unplugged it and replugged it back in.
Okay. I don't know if the audio is coming from that mic because you sound a little more echoey now.
Oh, you know what? Let me try it real quick.
But the static is gone, so I'd rather have, the static was pretty bad at one point. I'm going to get something. I'll be right back.
No, I'm using the USB microphone, the 2100. So I don't think they have static anymore, like you said.
Oh, okay, I'm back. Sorry. I had the chapstick and a glass of water is going to be your best friend when you start doing a lot of talking. Okay, what would you say? I'm sorry.
No, I think that we should have resolved the issue because I unplugged it and plugged it back in. And I'm looking at I have a Mac Pro, so I'm looking at the audio MIDI setup, and I still have the ATR 2100 hooked up. So
tap.
Okay now.
Go ahead and tap the mic. Nope, that's definitely not the input source of your audio.
Interesting. All right, 1 second.
Maybe it's your webcam. We could have auto switched over to your webcam.
Yeah, that's what might have happened. Let me see. Built-in microphone.
Nope.
How about this? Is this echoey?
Yeah.
All right, let me go back. This should have activated this mic.
Nope.
What is going on here?
When I start the Blab session, it asks me which ones I want to share, and I had to actually select my Yeti mic. I don't know if you can switch it in the middle of having an open session.
No, it's outside of the Blab that controls the microphone. I don't know why it's not disengaging.
Oh, you could also go into your audio settings, and then you got recording devices, and then you can select which of the recording devices. Because I had to do that for my speakers. I switched over from my audio speakers to my Blue Yeti mic speaker, which is basically this headset right here.
All right, let's do this.
I wonder.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, so something's wrong with the software setup because on a Mac it's the audio MIDI setup, and right now I have active the USB microphone.
So I have an idea. You want to drop out and hop back in?
Yeah, that might.
Okay. Hello? No, it's still the webcam mic. That's my mic right there. Yeah, you had good audio quality when the mic was working, but then this static started creeping in. But when you unplugged that mic, the static stopped. Oh, there you go. Try it again. Talk into it.
Hello.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So your audio's good, and I don't hear any static, so that's a good thing. I think you fixed it.
Okay, good. Let's get this thing rocking and rolling, Mr. Keith Ledig.
Ledig.
Bam.
Yeah. So Ivan Raiklin. Rake like as in a rake, like raking your grass.
Like raking the leaves.
Raiklin the leaves. All right. Ivan Raiklin. All right. So what we're going to discuss today, I'm going to start off with your what do you do in 8 words or less, and then, which you already have that down pat. And then we're going to talk about, I'm going to basically just introduce you and let you talk. So you can do like an intro. I have here brief 2 or 3 minute intro, and then why you do what you do, like your story about where you came from, and first you got your law degree, and then you started doing this and that, and something in your life changed you forever, and then you realized you wanted to be an angel investor and whatever. So then your story can go on for like 20 minutes, whatever you want, and then we'll go back and forth. I'll ask you questions from time to time, or ask you to elaborate on things. If we go off on a tangent, we'll pull us back to center, and then hopefully we'll tag up on the most important lessons you've learned, the best advice you can give to the listeners. I always like to ask towards the end questions like what was your most epic failure? Because we tend to learn the most from when we fail the biggest, right? And then at the very end, I'll probably ask for a book recommendation, and then how other listeners can contact you. So you always want to get your funnel going.
Gotcha. Yeah, John Lee Dumas style. I gotcha.
Yeah, cool. Well, hey, if a format works, why mess with it, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. And I'll be doing a lot of post-production, so don't worry if somebody hiccups or something. That's coming out, no problem. But I like to keep it organic. I like to minimize the edits because I like it being authentic and organic. So you ready?
I am.
Cool. All right. That's Raiklin, Ivan Raiklin, right?
Right.
Okay. Welcome to the Super Smart Guy podcast. Today, we have special guest Ivan Raiklin. And Ivan, tell us about yourself.
Sure, Keith. Let me see. My name is Ivan Raiklin, and I am a sharing economy entrepreneur, and also do advising and investing in startups, primarily in the DC tech scene. 2 of the ones that I am really intimately involved in are Piazza. You can see here on my shirt for those of you that are looking. And it's a DC-based startup, essentially taking the Craigslist model and then bringing that model into today's day and age, where your buyers and sellers are verified in a cashless transaction, a lot more secure and safe method of conducting local, really creating that local shopping experience. And then the other one is the intelligencecommunity.com LLC. And they are a freelance marketplace similar to what now is called Upwork, what used to be Odesk and Elance, where it's I guess for some of the listeners who are more familiar with Fiverr. So take the Fiverr model and bring it to the national security arena, where maybe a government agency is looking for really short-term freelance work, but your individuals need to have, say, security clearances or knowledge in geographic areas of the world that are necessary in that particular time frame. Such as example today, probably someone that specializes in the Middle East, or say, for example, in Eastern Ukraine.
Cool. That sounds very interesting. So basically, I want to tell the listeners that we met at Podcast Movement 2015, and you just walked right up. Yeah, you just walked right up and said, "Hey, how are you doing?" And I was like, "This man is my kind of people because that's exactly the way I like to roll." So I was
Right.
really
I want to meet everybody on the planet. So if I see you and you're not engaging with someone, I'm going to put my hand out and say, you know what? You look like an interesting person. I want to meet you.
right. I enjoy living vicariously through others, and when you were telling your story, you're very engaging and personable. So I thought I got to get Ivan on my podcast because he's going to be very entertaining and very educational. I
Oh,
think you'll open up people's eyes to a lot of really cool things. So the next thing I'd like to ask you is, in 8 words or less, describe what you do and who you are.
I maniacally consume information and share the most valuable parts.
Okay, so we share a very similar genre because I do the same thing too. I call that like an information aggregator. You basically learn things, you research, you do the work, and then you have this information which you can turn into a product, into content that adds value to other people's lives.
Right, but I think I try and 10x it at sometimes.
Nice.
So I want to consume it in the most efficient, fastest way possible and the most valuable content, and then essentially take from that the highlights or the best value nuggets and then share it.
Value
and I have some
nuggets.
Tips and tricks on how to do that too.
Nice. See, this is awesome because I want to get into this as well. And one of the things that I really liked about your story was when you were talking about being like a life hacker, and I mentioned Tim Ferriss, and you said, "Well, Tim Ferriss got nothing on me."
Well, I wouldn't say that, I mean, especially publicly. Granted, he has produced a lot more valuable information than I have because I'm just getting into the space, and he was actually my launching pad when I read 4 Hour Workweek a few years back when he came out, and I started reading it and thought to myself, "Wow, he's really writing about a lot of what I'm doing," and I thought
Nice.
this is very intelligent, very a lot of similar interests. But it's I do have cool. Some hacks that I haven't seen him share publicly, and maybe I just haven't caught him that I'd like to share with whoever's listening in.
Nice. So basically, before we go into the detailed hacks, what really intrigued me when I met you was your story, your background. So I don't know what you're allowed to talk about, but because I know people who are in that industry, in that area, but what you can describe about what you've done, if you could give us a 5 or 10 minute history of your career.
Okay, wow. 5 or 10 minute history of my career.
Well, whatever you can put into words.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So let me see. Let me start off with finished up law school back in 2004 and wanted to become an attorney. But during the middle of law school, obviously, I started law school in 2000 and 9/11 kicked off. I was in the National Guard at the time. So pretty much after 9/11, I continued to pursue my law degree, but things kind of started getting more hot and heavy, if you will, in the Department of Defense arena. So I became a little bit more active in that space. And then, from becoming a regular soldier to Sorry, I was just interrupted.
That's okay. It happens.
So in the middle of law school, I was serving. I'd done a couple of tours. I think I mentioned before that I served as a Green Beret. And when I finished just to kind of briefly finish off that aspect, I decided, I was as successful as I wanted to be in that space, in the military and government space. And I wanted something challenging in a different sector. And that was essentially podcasting and startups in the tech space. So I would say a few years back, I started listening to podcasts. I felt as though that was the most efficient way to consume information because technology was starting to allow folks to learn, not just from reading, because I'm a voracious reader, books, magazines, etc. And it seems as though with new technology that comes out, it's now become the most inefficient way to consume information. Whereas when you read, you have to just sit down and focus your entire attention on the book. Whereas if you can literally listen to that same knowledge while you're doing anything else, whether it be swimming with underwater Like, for example, I have underwater MP3 player, or if you're running, if you're doing really any other physical activity or just moving from point A to point B, you can consume that information and still not really impact your daily lifestyle. However,
Well, what's
you're
really
adding a
nice,
layer of knowledge.
right? I agree with you wholeheartedly, and I'm a huge advocate for audiobooks and podcasting as well. I must listen to hundreds of hours worth of, a lot of audiobooks and the podcast. That's kind of what got me into this. Well, I was a podcast listener before I became a podcaster. But yeah, you can run, how many hours, if you're athletic, how many hours a week you can run. And then if you can learn while you're running.
Right. I've actually done ultra marathons. So yes, you can use that.
Wow. Ultra marathon. Was that two times the distance?
I've done a little over 50-mile run.
Wow. With just no stopping, that's impressive. I've done a half marathon, and that's about as far as I want to go in one session. Fantastic. Well, so now you had mentioned books and magazines. I know I usually do this at the end of the show, but what I'd like to do, since you brought it up, is get a reading list of what you do. Let's start with magazines.
Okay, let me give you like the top 20,000 foot overview of what I consume, if I may, and then we'll
Please
go down deep. So essentially,
Sure.
like I said, I'm a maniacal consumer, and that means I speak 5 different languages, and so I actually look into source material in 4 or 5 different languages. And if I
you actually read in all those.
Yes. Now with some of them, I'm a lot weaker, so I'll tend to read the information or listen to the information that's maybe translated somewhat. So the languages, obviously, like English, and then Russian, Spanish, Arabic, and French. So again, I consume primarily things in audio form. So I subscribe to probably around 100 different podcasts, and I'm able to consume pretty much all of them consistently because I listen to them at the maximum allowable speed using the program called Overcast, which deletes any air gaps in data and then also speeds up the audio. So then you're pretty much consuming at 2.5 to 3x the normal speed. So as far as specific content, again, like magazines, your basic ones, your blue chip business magazines from The Economist, Forbes, Fortune, Wired, Business Week, and then to your more entrepreneurial magazines, which are, your Inc., your Entrepreneur, your Fast Companies, and then I guess also Worth and Success magazines. I'd say those kind of round out the top 10 business focused magazines. And then also I'm very attuned to international relations. I'm actually doing a weekly program called Where Nothing is Foreign as well on Blab. And my first one is on Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. And
so this coming Monday, right?
Right. This coming Monday will be the first one. And
Which
the reason
listeners that are tuning in later, we're recording this August 22nd. So that would be the 24th, you said?
Right. Exactly.
Okay.
So that'll be the first episode. And because my passions are in different spaces. So international relations, and that's due to my time in the military. I've served as a military attaché in Eastern Europe. And so dealing with quite a few issues on international relations, political, military. And I really track what's going on in terms of U.S. foreign policy. So I read Foreign Affairs is obviously a staple. Everybody reads that. That's attuned to the international space. One that's a lot easier to consume is Foreign Policy magazine. And then you have your Stanford produces a journal. There's Columbia, the School of International and Public Affairs. Most of those, higher ranking institutions, I'll read and follow what the thought leaders are writing at that point. Again, that's old media, if you will. Your New York Times, obviously, Wall Street Journals, USA Today is kind of more your popular culture newspaper. But your top tier newspapers, magazines in business, entrepreneurship, international relations, and that's from the U.S. standpoint. And then I also delve into the podcasting space and video/audio podcasting, and those are your lead programs in Russian. Let's see here, like the languages that I mentioned. So RFI is a big radio station in France. Their program is TV5. And I don't know, I'm going off on a tangent probably that's not of great benefit and interest to the entrepreneurial space. That's more international relations. So I'll focus more in on entrepreneurship because I have several lines of interest.
What makes you interesting though is that not only are you're focusing on business now, but your background was in the international and foreign affairs, and people could only speculate as to what you might have done in previous careers. So you're like a Jason Bourne, James Bond kind of thing, maybe. I don't know.
I don't know.
We can only speculate, but that's very interesting. And I actually have a passion, a hobby of following foreign affairs and international news. And I think one of the biggest problems is in the United States is that a lot of people here, we focus on local news or they don't focus on any news. So a lot of people really don't pay attention to what's going on globally. So when things happen like terrorist attacks and different sort of political events, people are caught off guard or they just follow the talking heads in the media of whatever political alignment they're associated with. So it's like they tend to not think for themselves. And I think that's a scary thing because then you get a lot of lemmings or sheep herded in certain directions, right? So
the thing is with these platforms, I mean, obviously globalization, we're literally in globalization 2.0 with all these platforms that are out there, particularly Blab and Periscope, and just everybody's starting to get that internet connection. I mean, look at what happened with the Arab Spring. That was essentially the first time that in the Middle East, you were able to efficiently communicate outside of controlled government networks. And that's why those things occurred, because of the disruption. But one thing I would recommend for viewers that are just getting into this space or want to know like top level international affairs issues, probably the leading program is Fareed Zakaria's program on Sunday evenings on CNN, Global Public Square.
Yeah.
So that would be a recommended one because it's the only program from a US-based network that solely focuses on international relations.
Yeah, I think Americans' general viewpoint of international affairs is somewhat skewed and stereotyped.
Everybody's is. I mean, if you're only looking at one or two pieces of information, then that's you're only sourcing two pieces of information when there may be 99 million other pieces that really round out the entire story. Most people don't have the bandwidth to be able to do that.
That's true. So now getting back to what you're focusing on. So your new business focus area, the direction you're going in, you had mentioned angel investor and some other things. So let's talk about where you're moving forward in the business.
Okay. As far as business, I would say the sharing economy is tops. With an overlay. If you have a Venn diagram, I guess I would have three concentric circles overlapping each other. One is your sharing economy space. I'll go into detail later if you want me to. That's one. Two is the DC tech space, just because of my physical proximity to the Washington, DC area. And then third, I would say, is advising startups, if you will, and investing in those startups if they happen to meet my criteria.
You mean like an incubator house or something?
No, like an angel investor role, if you will.
So you help them get investing and you give them guidance.
Right. So I'll invest my personal funds in it. And if they need it, I mean, if they ask for advice, then I give advice based on my background and my network. I guess I would say I'm currently a small-time Chris Sacca, if you've heard of that name. It's one of your super angels out in Silicon Valley, and he was covered in business. Was it Forbes a few months ago in April, as he was number 3 or 4 on the Midas list in terms of angel investors and VCs, venture capitalists. So I'm just kicking off.
Cool. Well, that sounds good. So what would your daily business look like? Will you wake up in the morning, read the paper in 5 languages, consume 30 hours of audio content in 50 minutes? And so
Exactly.
Tell me what you do.
You're basically covering it all right there.
Nice.
So I'm engaged with something else during the day. So I have we'll just say I have a 9 to 5. And then outside of my 9 to 5, I cover down on everything we've discussed so far. So the way I look at it, everybody out there that has a 9 to 5, that's only taking 40 hours of your week. And then you have 128 hours of the rest of the week to use at your disposal. Now, if you sleep 8 hours a day like I do, I pretty much religiously do my 8 hours a day. That still only is 56 hours of the week. So we're now down to 96 hours of used time if you're a full-time current employee with somebody. And so that really leaves you about 60 hours to be able to dedicate to a business endeavor at least. So we'll just use that 60 hours. So during the course of those 60 hours, I am probably half of the time at least learning, studying, engaging, right? In order to be ahead of the curve of those that are uninitiated. So that, entrepreneurs are essentially those folks that are hungry for knowledge and then see where that knowledge base can be applied to your not late adopters, but to critical mass. So again, learning and then actually trying to figure out the platforms necessary in order to share that information. Now, like we started off the podcast, I wanted to start off my own podcast based on attending Podcast Movement. And as I've recorded some interviews, set up the infrastructure, set up lead digits and lead pages for my email capture tool. In the middle of doing all that, lo and behold, I see a program called Blab. And now I'm actually considering pivoting and doing solely Blab type of interviews like we're doing here, and then repurposing everything from there on out. So then we have video recorded right now. It can be put up on Vimeo and YouTube. And then from there, the audio extracted for a podcast, and then that audio transcribed into a blog, which will then it's essentially further feed itself into a book. Nice.
See, there you go. So you have the full ecosystem flow of information from A to Z.
And now I have much to learn in order to be able to execute on that.
Well, it's baby steps. You do it one step at a time. Like when I first started my podcast, I thought about it, did research, and then people get into analysis paralysis. So then it comes a point where you just got to do it. And so I adopted Michael Jordan's just do it mantra. And I started putting out, well, I don't want to say bad content, but I mean, obviously beginner. And that's okay, because then you will watch it, you'll get reviews and feedback from other people, but you sound really polished, like your first cut is going to be really good stuff.
Well, thanks. I hope you're right. I support
you. I'm going to be following you because our areas overlap of interest. Even though I don't cover everything on my podcast that you're doing, I definitely am interested in your space. So you got a fan here.
Cool. You want me to let you know how to shout out to me, or not shout out to me, but to get more information? Or do you want to do that at the end?
So we're going to do that at the end. But one of the things that I wanted to make sure I cover all the bases as far as your projects. So do you have, I know you're just getting started, but do you have examples of what you're doing right now? Like, are there any current chicks in the incubator for angel investment? Any like an example of something you've done to date?
Yeah, sure. I have an example that I can talk about as far as angel investing. So the first company that's in my portfolio right now is Piazza.
That's right.
A little bit. The Piazza shirt I have on, and actually I have, I got to sport the logo here. Obviously,
it's okay to give props.
So it's pyazza.com. So if you know Italian, or if you're from Europe, and if you're initiated, you know what Piazza is. In Italian, it means a square or a public marketplace. And what it does is, like I said briefly earlier, It is a local shopping experience that will be safe, secure. And right now, it initially will be launching in the next 2-3 weeks in beta here in DC, focusing primarily on the high-end second, I guess, if you will, second-hand items. So your high-end consignment stores. And what I mean by that is your high-end bags and clothing that your very sophisticated and metropolitan ladies would want to shop for.
Is this new merchandise or is it used products?
It will be primarily used because we're partnering, or Piazza is partnering with the consignment stores. Your high-end consignment stores, like Second Time Around is the biggest national chain. So we're talking about, high value items in terms of cost. You have hundreds and $1,000 bags that on the primary market for retail, and then they pretty much are similarly priced. So
so it's sort of like a high-end eBay.
High-end. Here's how I would put it. If Craigslist is Walmart, Piazza is Saks, like Saks.
Nice. I can see where, because you're going to be moving higher end products, you can spend more time and get a better quality experience overall.
Right. And the goal there is for the CEO, Nick Parga. I'm in a mastermind group with him, and we do it publicly on Sundays on Blab. We started doing that. And Sundays at 8 p.m. Eastern. His focus is to make it, more of a social experience. Because if you think about it, if you're in a niche market like that, if you have folks that are selling something that you're interested in, you have similar interests. So then they may have something or know about something that you would want to know about later, kind of similar to following each other, like a Facebook. Then you would probably want to be on that person's radar and vice versa to be able to know if they're going to sell something in the future. So then it becomes a long-term relationship. So that's the culture that he's trying to breed.
That is interesting. So it's sort of like,
you can
sounds like
in terms
it sounds like it's the distance between. So you've got the guy like me who would sell crap out of my garage when I clean it out once every 5 years. And then you got Walmart selling stuff, well, not Walmart, but Macy's selling stuff every day. And it sounds like this is an intermediary space for like an intermittent sales opportunities.
Right. So you would have, what would be an example? Say you want to have an Armani suit and you want to dress nicely. Well, that you got to pay to play, right? If you go retail,
right.
There's not really a place where you can get it and it's, safe and secure. I mean, you can go to a Goodwill and maybe find that stuff, but how convenient is that? That's not very convenient. You have to actually drive somewhere. Whereas Goodwill is more lower end products, unless you're, say, for example, out here where I'm at in Fairfax County, and probably Forbes considers it the most expensive county to live in the country. So then maybe your Goodwill there is going to have some quality product,
right?
But it's not inventoried online to be able to easily transact. Same thing with the consignment stores. There's over 20 consignment stores in the high-end space in the DC area. However, it's pretty disparate. And how many people go shopping face-to-face? It's not convenient anymore.
Okay, so from what I said, so let's put this in a use case scenario.
Sure.
That you have I want to buy an Armani suit. And I go to the Mall Millennium in Orlando because I'm in Central Florida, and those are high-end stores there. I'm shopping around. My suit's $5,000. I'm like, I don't have $5,000 to drop on a suit. And even if I did, I wouldn't want to. I'd rather pay off something. So, all right, I want to get an Armani suit, but I don't want to pay $5,000 the full retail new price. So I can buy it used for half that price, right?
Right, or less. I mean, whatever the market will dictate that, right?
Okay, so the market drives what the used price is of Jimmy Choo's shoes or a Coach bag or the Armani suit. And then I go to your marketplace and I'm like, let's see, I search for my size and I see the product that's available. A lady might be able to search for size 5.5 shoe, right, and then see all the high-end product that she can buy. And then, you find something that a fraction of the cost, but it's in good shape because it'll have the condition. It's in pictures, right? I'm assuming.
Right. There'll be pictures, there'll be video, and there'll be functionality later on, such as it's going to be in different languages where you use audio to audio translation. those are more kind of advanced features. But going back to the original piece.
Cool. So then, and now I'm assuming you're vetting the merchants here, so you know that there's no counterfeit made in China crap.
So right, initially the supply will be coming from these consignment stores, so their brand is on the line, and then internally, you as the buyer will be able to rate RATE the other side, and vice versa. So if the transaction doesn't go well, you will be able to explain. I mean, similar to when you take an Uber or a Lyft or any of these other sharing economy platforms, if there are multiple times when you're rated poorly, you're at risk of being thrown off the platform. I mean, I had an experience like that I don't know if you know about this platform called Relay Rides. Are you familiar with Relay Rides?
No, I don't do too many taxi type things.
So just briefly, Relay Rides is when I'm not using my vehicle, I rent it out and I make money off of whoever rents it out. So most of
I've heard
22 to 23 hours of the day, your vehicle's not used. And on the weekends, I only need one vehicle for our family because we do everything together on the weekends. So during the weekend, I rent out my vehicle. And one time an individual smoked in the vehicle, and I contacted Relay Rides, explained that they smoked, and they were off the platform that same day. And I was reimbursed to be able to clean out the vehicle. Is it a hassle? Yeah, but I support the sharing economy to be able to use fully all assets on the planet, right?
This is cool. So let's segue. Segue right in.
That goes back to the Piazza platform. If somebody does something that's not what the market wants, they're at risk of being thrown off the platform, and thus their revenue stream is gone.
Right. So your reputation is at stake, and reputation is everything, because I'll base my purchasing decisions on your reputation even more than the product.
Right. Reputation equals price. So when I just started using some of these platforms and I had 0 ratings, I could only garnish probably half of the recommended rate for my vehicle. Now that I have some traction and 7 or 8 5-star ratings, I'm increasing my price of the vehicle when I rent it out, and I can be more selective on who I allow to rent my vehicle.
So then the seller has a brand as well as the product that they are selling.
The seller and the buyer. So exactly. So the buyer, if for example I have an issue with them, I give them 1 star, and then no one else will rent their vehicle to that individual.
Okay, so this was I wanted to segue into the sharing economy, and we're actually doing that right now because I've only heard the buzzwords, and this is really cool. So in a sharing economy, it sounds like, and I'm learning along the way here, that you have buyers and sellers, and they both get rated. And then you have products or services that exchange between the buyers and sellers. And it could be anything from my selling my old Armani suit that doesn't fit me anymore or I don't use, to letting someone use my car when I'm not using it, right?
Right. So again, like the history of the sharing economy really, I would say, kicks off with the big name Airbnb. So
big name.
Airbnb,
Yep.
It was one of the first ones that's in this space. And the reason why it occurred in an efficient manner is because the technology, it all starts with the hardware. So the hardware came out, your smartphones come out, you have 3G, and you have GPSs inside of smartphones. That's really what allowed a lot of these things to come out. And then the apps followed to be able to support them. So Airbnb allows you to rent out unused physical space that you own. I mean, most people are familiar with that. And then take that and extrapolate it into every single other vertical you can think of, whether it's a good or service. So let me throw a few down. The ride sharing business, your Ubers, your Lyfts, your sidecars, your Split is a new company here in DC. Just met the CEO last week at an event or a few days ago. What else? So that's ride sharing. You have renting your vehicle out, such as Get Around is the name of the company, is a competitor to Relay Rides. Get Around's model is more of per hour basis. People rent their vehicle. So like if you don't have a vehicle in an urban area, you'll go ahead and rent for an hour to do some shopping because it's going to be cheaper than doing an Uber. So it's at a price point that competes with that. Another one would be not so much sharing, but on demand. like your on-demand valet services. So I use that all the time since I live in the suburbs of DC. Every time I go into DC for an event, function, networking event, as I'm driving out, I request a valet to meet me at the location and deal with the parking. So it's an on-demand valet person, grabs my car, parks it, and when I'm done with my event, I request them to be at my whatever my location is for me to pick up my car or for him to drive the car to me, and then I drive back. The other piece is, I mean, I can go on and on, to be honest. I've identified over 50 companies that are already in this space, from renting an Airbnb for cars, an Airbnb for sailboats, because I go to a lot of pitch competitions for startups throughout the East Coast. New York Tech Day, DC had a global pitch competition finals by the incubator called 1776.
This sounds like Shark Tank.
A couple weeks ago. So I'm basically, yeah, exactly. So I'm kind of going to all these different events. The next major one that I'm going to is in October in San Francisco, and that's hosted by Jason Calacanis. And he's one of your other, I guess you'd call him a super angel investor that is really, he's kind of like one of the leaders in the space, where he has a podcast called This Week in Startups and does the annual launch festival. And this year will be the first time he's doing something called Launch Scale, where people or companies will compete in their pitch. They already have to have not just an idea, they have to have what's called an MVP, for those that don't know, a minimum viable product, so that him and then the judges will take a look and see whether or not they want to invest their time and effort to advise those startups to then scale out to be a national and global company, similar to your Uber. Nice. Hopefully that answers your question.
Oh, yeah, definitely. This is pretty cool because I like exploring these things. So being in Florida, I don't really use taxis much, so I have very little exposure to Uber. Actually, my first exposure to Uber was when I went to visit a friend in the DC area, because I've been doing work on and off in the DC area. And we met up for dinner, and she called one of those Uber taxis later on in the night. And I thought, wow, this is cool. I got to look into this Uber thing. And then I heard of Airbnb, but I just never stayed at anybody's house. And I thought, this is in cities like New York and DC, things like Uber are valuable because it's a pain in the butt to drive in the cities.
Absolutely.
But something like in Florida, everybody drives. There's a lot of rural. I mean, maybe in Orlando, you'd want to do an Uber, but like in the communities, just the neighborhoods and stuff, you just take your car and you go. There's parking everywhere. Parking lots are huge, and
so that's where I jump in and say, you know what, you can still use a sharing economy platform to make money or to save time, even if you're in a more rural environment, because there are platforms out there that do that long distance. So say, for example, where do you live right now, Keith?
I live on the East Coast in Melbourne. That's on the East Coast, exactly east of Orlando, but we're on the water.
Do you ever make any trips, kind of semi-long distance trips within Florida to visit relatives?
Oh, sure. Yeah, we'll go to like Miami's 2 hours south, Orlando's an hour west, and
okay, here we go. So here's where I'm getting at. So if you're driving to Melbourne or to Miami from Melbourne, how many seats do you have available usually when you make that drive within your car?
So usually I'll go with a friend, and then I'll have like the whole back seat empty. You could probably fit 3 adults back there. And the trunk is almost empty.
Interested in basically charging for each one of those seats while you make that drive down and back, so that your fuel at least is paid for?
Yeah, that's like a paying hitchhiker.
Right. And you would explain that you're not a very interactive person, so you want only passengers that are completely silent if you want that.
Oh, wow. You can check the box. Yeah, right. Check that out.
There are companies that do that.
That's amazing. That's like hitchhiking. It's like Airbnb hitchhiking.
So if you want further information on that, I'll throw in my plug now and say.
Okay, so that's another one?
Right. So the thing is, I have a newsletter that I put out at the most on a weekly basis, really profiling a new company in the sharing economy space. And I'll provide details on what they do, where you can find more information, and also put in a referral code, obviously, on usually getting either the first couple of engagements for free. So if you've never used that particular company and what their service, you use my referral code. One, you find out about it and you determine whether it's something that's useful for you. And if it is, please go ahead and use the referral code to use it for the first time for free. And that's kind of how you may want to ask this question. That's how I'll be monetizing on that particular piece, because it's it's a triple win. It drives traffic to the company. I obviously get a referral, and you get a free first-time use as well as knowledge of that particular service.
Now, would that be classified as an affiliate?
Yes, it'd be an affiliate relationship.
Okay, so do you have a website?
So what I would recommend doing is texting the word sharing economy to the number 33444. So I have a lead digit out there to be able to do that, and I can type it on the right side here for anybody else. I guess no one's watching right now, but so it'll be text all one word, sharing economy, to 33444. I find that website development is just, I don't know, it's somewhat of a waste of time. It's a lot more efficient to capture an email, specifically through a lead digit. Are you familiar with lead digits?
Now, that's something that I found out about at the Podcast Movement 2015, and I want to look into it, and I don't currently have a knowledge base of it. I understand that you can get a phrase, and then you tell people text whatever to 33444 or yes, whatever, exactly. Right? Because there's different companies.
Try it? You have your cell phone with you?
Sure.
We can step through it real quick. It is the most efficient email capture tool out there that I'm aware of.
Hey, life is an experiment. So I actually did this at the Podcast Movement. And by the way, we're recording this on Blab, which was recommended to me by Ivan. And it sounds like you're going to be a regular blabber.
Oh, actually, I just changed my profile. The first phrase about me is gift of Blab.
The gift of Blab. Nice. Yes. Okay, so I'm ready to text to 33444. So what am I going to be?
So you just pull out a cell phone and then you type to the number 33444 the word sharing economy. So that'll get you on my list for information about sharing economy companies and how to. I'll give a profile on how to make money, and then also because again, there's two sides to each of these. You can either make money off of it, or you can be a user by using that platform.
Cool. Now, is it sharing economy all one word, or is it sharing space economy?
No, all one word.
Okay.
And then if you want more information on Piazza, you do the same by texting the word Piazza to 33444, or my other blabs, which are there's DC Tech. I'm going to be doing on Tuesdays. We'll have some thought leaders within the DC Tech community. So again, DC Tech to 33444, etc. And then nothing is foreign, I think I have set up, but I'm still working on that piece. So I'll have 4 programs during the week: a Sunday, a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I have right now on Blab in the evening.
Wow, your dance card's filling up pretty fast, Ivan.
I love it. No, but this is so great, Blab. Sorry, I got to go on a tangent on this thing, Blab.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Like I said before, when we first started this thing, I don't know if it was during the recording phase, but I want to meet everybody on the planet, and I can't scale that face-to-face. Digitally, we can knock it out. The thing is, I hate texting. It's the most inefficient way to communicate. You can't capture inflection in voice, sarcasm, excitement. You can a little bit with emojis, but that's still amateur hour. If I can see what you look like, and I can see the smile, I can see the nodding of the head, it's just so much more rich in terms of engagement. So this platform right here is at the highest level of interaction. Video with audio, and then audio, and then text is last.
So
that's why all social media platforms out there, I'll say it right now, are moving to video.
Well, one of the things I do want to add is I was involved in a online mastermind group earlier in the year, and we were trying different technologies. We didn't use Blab, and I wish we did, because like Google Hangouts, I can't tell you how many problems we had with Google Hangouts. Somebody always had a video or microphone problem. It was
Absolutely.
It was unbelievable how many damn problems we had with the technology and getting people on the Google Hangouts. So what I really like about Blab, and I'm going to recommend it to everybody in the future for the video. Everybody. Right. So basically, it's so easy to get started. I think you need like a Twitter account or something to sign in. I don't even think you have to sign in. But if you want to get like the audio and video emailed to you, if you record it and stuff like that, if you want to be notified, then you sign in with either Twitter or maybe a Blab account. I'm going to find out more about that in the future, and I'll let you guys know.
No, you're absolutely right, Keith. You sign in with a Twitter account, so you just have to have a Twitter account, and then from there, if you want to receive your, like you said, the audio and video, put your email in, and then they'll send you the links for those.
And it's good. I got to tell you, it's great quality, because when I was doing Skype and Google Hangouts, people were dropping out constantly, and I'm blown away with the quality of the audio and the video. Now, Ivan had some mic issues in the beginning, but I think
that's because of me. I'm amateur.
Yeah, that was your, well, it wasn't your fault. It was a hardware issue with your mic, but you reset it and it works great now. But I mean, so here's what you do. You just navigate to, what is it, blab.im?
Yes.
And then you can see all the chat sessions going on. You can join any one of them at any time. And then when you want to join it, you just click join, or if you want to be a lurker and watch and not participate, you can do that. You can start your own. I started my own, and we're actually doing the podcast.
You will never green ever again.
Okay, I have to.
It's so addicting.
It is.
This thing is a drug. This is a vice.
So when you told me about it yesterday, I must have spent like 2 or 3 hours on the damn thing yesterday. I talked about crap I'm not even really engaged in. Like, for example, there was this bunch of women that were talking about the educational system in New Jersey. They were cool people. I enjoyed the conversation, and I'm from Jersey, so I started making Jersey wisecracks, and it was just it was cool because you're connecting with people.
Oh, absolutely. No, this thing is going to go completely ridiculous viral. And now I just noticed, was it 3 days ago, Michael Stelzner jumped on, and he's been actually doing some social media blabs. You know Michael Stelzner, right?
Oh, that sounds familiar.
So he's the social media marketing world host. And he also has his podcast, Social Media Examiner. So, I mean, I would say he's in the A-list in the podcasting space, particularly in business and entrepreneurship. Well, and specifically social media. So he jumps on because I don't know if I've been spamming a little bit, but some of your A-listers I've been spamming, saying like your Gary Vaynerchuk's, your Chris Sacca, and then Michael Stelzner, that you need to get on Blab. And I think me, coupled with other folks that have been hitting him up, he finally jumps in. And if you know him, he's very laid back and conservative in the sense of emotionally, because I get animated and excited when I start getting really excited, and He's more reserved. And he was getting pretty excited about Blab on his first session because I jumped on, and he said, he was like, not to brag or anything, however, all my followers are going to know about this week, so just beware.
Nice.
And he has quite the following. So,
well, one thing that I really like. One thing I like about Blab is that I just went to the webpage and I started using it. I did not have technical issues. I didn't have connectivity issues. It all and it was intuitive, and there's not a lot of features to it. It has a minimal set of features, but all the features that it does have, they work, and they're quality features. So like when I first started using Blab, and I started my own conference, what they call them, Blab chat rooms or something like that.
No, just Blab. You started your own Blab.
Yeah, I started my own Blab.
You hosted your first Blab.
I hosted my first Blab, and then all I had to do was select which audio and video source, and a little drop-down Java window or something just asked me which one, and I clicked on it, and then boom, I was rocking and rolling.
You said that with an accent. It's called BAM.
BAM. Yeah. So basically, they took the barriers out of the way and they let the people use the technology. So I have an experiment. I just want to try really quick. There's this guy that wants to chat in here. I'm going to let him in really quick. Are you up for an experiment, Ivan?
No, do what you will. You're the host. You're in charge.
Okay. So skeptic shock.
Yes. Like septic shock.
It looks like we slowed down a little bit.
It probably did. Can I turn off my
I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
So we got a couple people that joined in just to see.
Yeah, it's
okay.
Bandwidth.
Hey guys.
I think I lost you there, Skeptic Shock. No, there's some kind of problems with your audio. It's really broken up. We have John Preto.
Hi guys. How's it going?
Is that how I say it, John?
Preto.
Cool. Okay, welcome. So basically, I am recording the Super Smart Guy podcast interview episode with Ivan, and I'm using Blab for the first time. During the normal podcast would just be one-on-one, but I figured I'll let you guys join in, and because we're just having a little fun with it.
Great, fabulous. Welcome.
Yes, thank you. So, do you guys have any questions for Ivan?
Yeah.
I don't know how long you've been watching.
I was in another podcast hosting, and I saw Ivan's picture, and I recognized him from somewhere. And I'm just trying to put two and two together of where I might have seen him, either on Leo Laporte's show or.
This is what I usually tell people when they say that. Adult film. But I'm joking.
Nice. Nice.
I've just seen your picture somewhere. I recognize your profile picture. I don't know where I saw it, but it's ringing a bell somehow.
No, you probably remember me because my ears are enormous and the bald head is very distinct.
Have you been to the post office lately?
Yeah, right.
No, I've been jumping on a few blabs just to see what's going on in the community. You may have seen me there.
Yeah, I recognize you're recognizable.
Well, thank you.
I mean, Mr. Clean, how could you not recognize this guy?
Yeah, yep. All right, that's all I wanted to say, guys.
So, John, do you have your own podcast?
You know why, John? Because I'm following you. That's why.
I'm a 20-year live streaming broadcast IT professional.
Nice.
Yeah. Ooh. So I've been doing this since 1996. Was Wall Street financed company called Hello Network here in Las Vegas.
So what do you think of these amateurs like me? And
it's funny because the conversation that's going on in Blab today, we had in the mid 90s about the democratization of media. And it's interesting that it's taken this kind of long to take off finally, but still there's some barriers to entry before I'm going to see mass adoption. I'm tracking numbers on a daily basis. They've been flat for the last week, even with Joelcom and some other big people coming on board. There's some interesting invisible barriers to live that kind of get in the way. And I'm tracking it, but I'm a huge proponent. I did the PGA, the LPGA, DNC convention, Kelsey Grammer, Joe Walsh, the Marine Corps. I used to travel around the world doing live streaming for companies professionally. And then I'm an entrepreneur. I'm involved with several startups, C-level executive. I'm an engineer by background, but entrepreneur by experience. And so I'm happy to be part of the Blab community, to help it grow. And I'm here to, help people, kind of jump over some of the hurdles in the way. I do handle all the social media for Mike Tyson. So I do this for a living. And so when I come onto the Blabs, it's frustrating for me because all people want to talk about here is social media marketing. And I'm kind of running away for that, right? So it's frustrating for me. So I like to meet new people and talk to people like Jamie. It's much more interesting for me. I've met more people here in 3 weeks that are interesting and intriguing that I've met in my personal life over the last 2 years.
Wow, that's fantastic.
I'm good friends with John.
So John, it sounds like you're somebody I think I might want to interview on my Super Smart Guy podcast in the future.
Well, just DM me and let me know. I'm happy to engage with you guys.
We all
cool. So basically, what I was interviewing Ivan on my podcast today, and he was talking about the sharing economy and how he's becoming an entrepreneur and how he had a background in like some military and stuff like that, and then he's moving forward into entrepreneurship and technology. And I think it's amazing how what I love about this social media, like for example, YouTube is television, but at the grassroots level, where people can actually produce their own content and publish it. Sort of like back in the day, you had record producers that controlled everything, and the book publishers controlled everything, and they basically would pick and choose who they wanted, what artwork became popular and famous and read versus what died on the vine. And today you have podcasting, which is basically radio at the grassroots level, YouTube for TV, and then this sort of streaming video. It's like the chat rooms. That's taking it to a totally new level now.
Yeah, so we're happy about talk about all that stuff when we have a different conversation. I'm interested to hear what Ivan has to say today. So with that, I'm going to pop off.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us, John.
All right, guys. Talk to you soon.
All right. See you around, John. You want to go back to a duo?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. We'll finish up the podcast.
Okay.
So how would I do that?
What do you mean?
Don't accept?
Oh, just don't accept it. You can also, I think you can lock it out so that people can't even request.
Okay.
There should be a lockout.
I'll just leave it alone. All right. So where did we leave off? I'm going to edit some stuff. Baby.
Bring it on.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do is edit it down, take out some bits and pieces. And all right, so let's talk about, have we covered all the bases as far as your business adventures and your interests in the new technology areas?
No, but I don't want to bore you.
So now let me ask you this. What do you do in your spare time since you spend all those 60 hours in your new business and learning and reading?
No, remember, I do things at least like 2.5 to 3x. So what do I do in my spare time? Exercise, hang out with my kids and my wife, my family, swim, run, and then play with the kids, travel, and go to different events.
So you have a balanced life.
I pretty much do hobbies, and then somehow I kind of monetize on some of them.
There you go. So that's the best way to have a hobby, right?
What's that?
Nice. So you're basically balance. It's a work-life balance where your hobby is hopefully going to pay the rent.
I'm doing okay right now.
Nice. So let me ask you, what would be your revenue streams now? Because there's a lot of people out there that want to monetize. They want to monetize podcasts, YouTube channels. They want to publish a book. There's all these different things people want to do to monetize, and some are more successful than others. Some are just not successful at all. So if you don't mind getting into how you monetize, you don't have to talk about numbers, but just like how you do it.
All right. So in terms of the podcast, so like a lot of people would ask me this question at Podcast Movement. I think you may have asked me too, but the thing is, I picked a space where I think you can immediately monetize. And what I mean by that is that it's a passion of mine, the sharing economy. And because I'm identifying new companies that people have never heard of, I can immediately monetize by letting somebody know about it and then doing that affiliate relationship. And then as I become a subject matter expert in the field, you know how it works. You get a sufficient amount of following that then deems you as an expert. And then you have other folks that want to be sponsors on the show, if you will. I mean, you have to hit that critical mass, but that comes later if you follow the John Lee Dumas model. The other piece is that you can upsell. It seems as though as I'm learning more about this, everybody's pretty much doing the same thing. Once you produce enough content out there and you're going to get good at it. And as you're getting good at it, you become a subject matter expert. As you become a subject matter expert, then people start to recommend you as a person and a personal brand in whatever you're an expert in. And that's when people will want to then use your services in terms of advice or consulting. And that's when you can actually charge for a higher rate based on what you think your value is and what the market can bear. I hear this from most people that you want to charge way higher than you think you're worth, because you could probably, someone out there may be willing to pay that amount. You just don't know, because, after a while you consume something sufficiently, then it becomes valuable for somebody else, but they don't want to put in those 60-hour weeks to get that knowledge base that you have. And then for them, they want it summarized in a matter of a couple of, 30 minutes or an hour. So then for them, that's value, because you just condensed and curated maybe 10,000 hours into 30 to 60 minutes. So to recap, monetizing off of the affiliate network with my sharing economy piece. And then after that, after you get a following, you get the sponsorships by making referrals about sponsors. And then after that, you become a subject matter expert, and you can do upselling in consulting.
Nice. That was a good summarization there, Ivan. All right. So now we had mentioned before that if people want to get in touch with you, they can text to 33444. And are there other methods for them to get in touch with you?
Right. So I'm on Twitter at Raiklin. So @ and then Raiklin, Raiklin. And if you type in Raiklin on any other social media platform out there, I'm pretty much it. You may find other family members, but that name is very unique. And there are 6 of us on the planet. So,
wow.
And they're all my family.
Hey, that's a niche, right? That's as nichey as you can get.
I've niched out pretty well in terms of choosing my name. No, I didn't choose it.
Nice. So then we can also follow you on Blab with the Blab shows that you're going to be hosting, right?
Right. Again, Twitter. You can hit me up on LinkedIn. I guess my primary engagement tools for the folks that are on this platform are going to be Twitter. And then I'm also on LinkedIn if you want to get a little more detailed understanding of what my background is. I have my profile there. And then Facebook, I don't really use it that much for business reasons yet. It's more of kind of mostly my personal network from high school and college, but slowly it's expanding. But I guess Twitter and LinkedIn are the main business drivers. And then on Blab, I am doing a weekly show. It's Sunday nights. I'm doing the Startup Mastermind, where I have the CEO of Piazza, another company, the intelcommunity.com CEO, and then another company based out of Chicago that I'm sort of advising called the Guard Llama, where we collectively do a mastermind group publicly on things that we've learned in the last week, or different tools and tricks and things for budding entrepreneurs and founders of different companies, for them to get into the entrepreneurial mindset. So that's Sundays. Mondays, I'm doing a piece on international relations, really kind of deep diving in international affairs issues. Some of it we already discussed today, as far as like sources of information for you to be up to date on it. Tuesdays, I'm doing the DC startup tech scene, where I'll have some of the thought leaders on board. I have lined up, hopefully here, one of the founders of DC Tech Meetup, which is, I think it's the largest tech meetup group on meetup.com. There's tens of thousands of folks that are part of that. They always draw a huge crowd. So I'll have one of the founders of that on board. They said they're going to be on, and a couple other leaders in the and writers and like a journalist in that space. Hopefully she'll be on. Then the last one is on Wednesdays, the sharing economy. And again, all these are at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, except for the one on Tuesday. It's at 9 p.m. Eastern. And probably the easiest way is just to type my last name, and you'll see all the ones that I have scheduled, to be honest. And if you find something interesting, let me know. And I'd love for anybody to come on board and engage, to give me a sense of what direction they want the conversation to go, because, this platform is the only one out there that's able to, where you're able to influence the entire engagement just by making comments on the right side, or like Kim Reynolds just did. That is smart. I found the same thing. Oh, and then Chi-Town Atheist said Ivan doesn't smile enough. So that's strange because my brother, he calls me Permagrin. So maybe, I don't know. We'll see.
Cool.
Anyway,
well,
I got
Ivan,
sidetracked with that.
All right, Ivan. Well, we appreciate your being on the Super Smart Guy podcast today. So if anybody wants to get in touch with him, he gave you that information. Plus, you can also send me a message, and I'll broker the deal. Well, Ivan, thanks for coming on today. The book?
The book question.
The book question. We'll end it with the book question. So we talked about magazines and other social medias, but now we're going to end it with Ivan's book suggestion.
Okay, so since we're talking entrepreneurship and business, I would have to say, and I would have to agree with about 20 different entrepreneurs of the 1,000+ episodes that have been on John Lee Dumas, and they recommended the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Napoleon Hill. Yep, it's a classic.
And so that's a classic. And granted, it was written in the 30s, I think it was. It really discusses post-Depression era entrepreneurship, which really applied post-2008. So when we have our next crash, take a look at that book and you will be successful because it goes into psychology. It's so applicable to today. I'm reviewing it today as I prepare for tomorrow's my startup mastermind.
Right. What's old is now new. Yep. It cycles. Things keep coming back, right? Like fashion. Absolutely. And relevance of books. Well, great, Ivan. Thanks for being on the show today. And we will be talking to you again soon in the future. I'm going to follow up and see how your angel investment company is doing.
Cool. Keith, it was an honor. Thank you for inviting me on your podcast. And we will definitely be in touch.
Great, Ivan. We'll make the world a better place and always live an amazing life. All righty. Thanks. I am going to stop the recording now.